It's a mad world.
Movie club.
And this is a mega. I don't know how many, but there's 64 movie club episode. Anyway, that was my best intro yet, I think. I don't know what you guys thought. Maybe you want to give popcorn shakes to how I set that one up.
Rocco, you're as brilliant as ever, and I'm sorry that we couldn't just let you go on for the next hour all on your own.
Yeah.
It would be a treat for the fans, but we're going to have to talk about this film that we watched. It's a mad world.
Yeah, I'll do my own private stream later, I guess.
I can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Whatever, this will be fine, I guess.
Then you're discussing the film we watched, Mad World, from 1963. This was a Sean pick. Sean, do you want to give an introduction as to why you picked this film?
Sure. I picked this movie because my father-in-law let me borrow this like a year ago and asked me all the time if I watched it or not. And I kept saying no. And he kept saying, well, it's a classic. It has all the old stars in it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch it, and then I'll make my friends watch it too. So that's how this came to be.
Side note, that is the worst, when somebody gives you something and then asks you if you've enjoyed it yet. Because it's just, the whole charm of something is discovering it on your own. So having it crammed at you just...
Which admittedly is what I did to Rocco with American Movie. But, you know, I let it sit for 2 years until I finally wanted it back. So that's really what it came down to.
You know what? A movie that bad, I would have hated either way. So it didn't really matter that you did. No, no, I didn't feel like you did that. I had it a long time, and only after that you asked about it. It's funny because Garrett has let me borrow movies before, and he is the opposite, where I think he's almost compensating for it, where after 2 days he goes, hey, give it back. Hey, bring that copy of that thing back. You're not watching. Give it back. Give it back. So, you know, there's ways to approach it.
That actually, somebody who's honest enough to just say, you know what, I know you're busy. Give me my stuff back.
Yeah.
You're never going to watch it.
Yeah, it's been a day and a half. Just bring it back. Just bring it back. Put it on my desk right now.
But honestly, I had never heard of this movie before he gave it to me.
Okay.
Or since, really. I had never heard of this. So
yeah, shocker.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've heard about this my whole life, but I never saw it. I know a lot of stuff that was like inspired by it, but I'd never actually seen this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, we'll get into our reviews. You know,
Derek started his review already.
Yeah, and you know, I was watching this movie, and probably the 5th hour into the movie, I thought I should not have had Rocco and Derek watch this movie.
Well, I will say personally on my behalf, and I don't know what you guys want to say, but this movie has all the ingredients of a 60s movie I love. Like, I love the animated opening. It's got every actor I could have hoped to see from a movie in this era. And I will say, after watching it did seem long, that I don't hate it. It's got a million things I love in it, but I was tired of it by the end.
I was exhausted.
Yeah,
I was
like, all right, you're flying a plane, and we got it. Let's.
Not only was I exhausted, but I left this movie actively hating an entire generation of people.
Honestly, I don't know if I'll go that far, but
I don't think I fully understood who Ethel Merman and Milton Berle were, and now I can confidently say I hate them. So that's what we got from this movie.
Yeah. Ethel Merman, whatever, but I'm still a Burlhead.
I think I hate Milton Berle more than any other film actor I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
I think Milton Berle should be erased from entertainment history.
Well, you know, we have in our studio, and this is no joke, we have edible seaweed downstairs. So, and I always notice you never eat it, so maybe you already had kind of a hate for that guy. Isn't that who he played? That's what he did for a living?
We had what?
Isn't that, we have edible, in the movie, wasn't that his job, is he made edible seaweed?
Oh, yeah.
We have that here in the studio, and I notice you never have any, so I think you already brought some hate to the movie.
It's funny because this movie specifically claims edible seaweed is like a failed industry and only an idiot would get into it.
Yeah.
That's a highly successful business here in 2020.
Literally, I'm really not joking. We have that like stocked downstairs. Garrett and I eat it all the time. Anyway.
So we'll get into it. It is a bad film. And, but it did have some redeeming qualities. It's not to say it wasn't entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought, was it? Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'll get into it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I hated it. I liked it. I just wish it was a lot shorter.
Didn't hate it either. But if there was an hour and 15-minute cut of this movie, give me that, is what I'm saying.
I will now mute my phone here.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
yeah.
Well.
Movie club tradition.
Yeah, I guess before we get into it, my upfront review was this movie was spinning its wheels, the film.
Literally, sometimes.
The movie that we watched was, how long was it? 2 hours and
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's
2 hours and 40 minutes. I read online that the original cut that they screened when this movie debuted was 3 hours and 17 minutes. We had the condensed version.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. Well, yeah, they were going for this grand thing, and I dug that. I loved that there were big set pieces and all these parts, and they got every star in the world. I mean, I love that aspect of it, but I think that put it in their heads that they could. Well, now it needs to be a 3-hour epic.
I kind of feel like what happened before we'll get into it, obviously. Yeah. But what happened was they had so many big names attached to this that they try to give everyone equal screen time or something. Yeah. And it just made it so like, oh my God, we're still doing the same thing with these same guys.
So as much as I really hated watching this film, I kind of became fascinated and obsessed with it because of what you guys are saying. It's like every comedian who ever lived at the time was in this movie. Mm-hmm. And the director set out to create, quote unquote, the greatest comedy ever made. He wanted to make like the Moby Dick of comedy. That's why you have a 3-hour long epic with every comedian who ever existed. We're talking like the Three Stooges show up in this movie.
Right.
Buster Keaton shows up in this movie. Laurel and Hardy were going to be in this movie, but Hardy was dead and Laurel didn't want to do it without him, but they tried to get everybody.
Yeah.
And it really was like a cultural event, more so than what movies are even today.
Right.
I think, right now we're going through all this stuff with like Tenet right now in 2020 and all the drama about how you have to see this in a theater and it won't be released online. This movie was kind of similar because in the 60s, television was this new novelty entertainment device, and movie theaters felt like, this is what I was reading and researching this movie, they felt like television was sucking away the audience from movies, and so they wanted to get something to draw people back to cinema.
Yeah.
So they presented this movie in Cinerama.
That's what I was going to say. I know this era was the big era of Cinerama and stuff. I totally forgot.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Cinerama? I didn't really know what that was before this.
Yeah.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, well, it was, again, exactly what you were just saying. To draw people back to theaters, they started shooting in this super wide aspect ratio so that, theaters could have a huge wide screen. I mean, it was Titanic.
Yeah. Cinerama was 3 35mm screens, basically 3 movie projectors, 3 movie screens at once. Put together. It was the biggest thing in the world. Yeah. It would come with a program. People would make like a night out of it. They would wear like their Sunday best to go to Cinerama.
Wow.
This movie they would take this movie, they called it on a road show. They would tour around the country and host Cinerama events. You'd get a program, you'd come out with your date. During intermission, they recorded audio parts of the story to play, to continue the story while you're in the bathroom or buying snacks.
Yeah.
And then you come back and see the second half of the movie. So it was a grandiose production.
Yeah.
That's sure. Now the stage is set. This is why Mad World exists.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes me like, had I been there for this in 63, I probably would have loved this movie. For the whole event and the atmosphere and everything else, like it seems like that would have really helped it.
I think that is why this movie is remembered as a comedy classic, because it was a cultural event.
Yeah, definitely.
Reviews from the 60s really shit on this movie and slammed this movie for not being funny, for being too long, for being overbloated. And they really said, like, this is the first time this director ever made a comedy movie. This was his first comedy. And personally, I felt like a lot of the comedy was just referencing, like, hey, here's some comedian from the 50s. All right, enough of that, you know.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. That's a little research I did on the setting of this film.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to say anything, you feel free to add to that. But otherwise, we can get into the plot.
No, let's just jump in. I mean, honestly, Derek, I don't know how much plot we can really go through because it's a pretty simple plot that takes 2 hours and 40 minutes to get through. So,
yeah,
I'm not sure what it's gonna say.
All right, so here's the movie in a nutshell. Anybody out there ever seen Rat Race?
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
Oh, Sean, you would love Rat Race. It's the exact same premise. So
yeah, it really is.
This movie starts in the desert. A bunch of motorists are driving through the desert, and one car is like speeding all around them. And it was actually really exciting beginning to the movie. It starts with like a high-speed chase, and probably the biggest laugh of the movie for me is this car just goes sailing off the road in one of the most spectacular crashes for no reason. I was with this movie for the first 4.5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I was enjoying it. So this guy crashes, and all these motorists pull over, and they go down to check on him. And you basically get all of 1950s television comedy royalty coming down this hill. You have Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney, Phil Silvers. Actually, Phil Silvers shows up later. But all these people who you may not know, but you know those names, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Buddy Hackett, by the way, was the voice of the seagull in Little Mermaid.
I've known Buddy Hackett. I mean, Buddy Hackett is super famous comedian, but for some reason,
didn't know
I
that.
never connected the dots on that. That makes me sense.
I mean, yeah, he talks like this in the whole movie. You know, he has this voice, and I'm
It
thinking,
makes so much sense now that you say it.
I know this voice, and I looked it up, and that's where I know him from in my childhood.
Here's the story of a princess. Yeah, I totally never even made that connection. That is so weird.
Yeah, so Buddy Hackett, I think, is one of the better parts of this movie, just because he's a charming guy every time he talks.
Oh, yeah, I love Buddy Hackett. Yeah, totally.
I feel like that is kind of the crux of all the humor in this movie. You either like these guys or you don't. What they're doing is not especially funny. Okay, but anyways, they check on this crash driver, and he is like a rambling old man. He's talking about $350,000 buried somewhere in Southern California underneath a big W. And then he literally kicks the bucket, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a funny movie.
When that happened, I thought, oh, that's what this movie's going to be. It's going to be stuff like that. But that was really the only time I could think of something like that was so like, oh, okay. But like that.
Okay, when he kicked the bucket, I laughed.
I laughed.
They didn't set it up, you know. I was still with them at that point. So then they like hit the road, and man, guys, this movie starts dragging pretty much out the gate. It is a long conversation with the police. Yeah, no, he didn't say anything. Yeah, we're gonna go about our normal day. Long driving around, trying to act normal. Everybody's speculating. Oh, you think they're going to go try to get the money? You think they're going to go try to get the money? Do you guys want to add anything to this part of the movie? What do you think?
What I will say is that you're right. Like the humor really, I think the kicking the bucket was the only joke in the whole movie. Like I can't think of another joke that was like a joke. It's the characters being characters,
and a lot of great stunts and set pieces.
And that's what I was going to say is like. I was blown away by the stunts, and by like the action sequences, especially for 63.
So apparently those were filmed first, and they filmed all of those before they even cast the movie.
Wow!
And they got their cast together, and they got them all together. They said, "This is the movie you're going to be in," and they showed them all these stunts. And Buddy Hackett went, "Wow, this is great. Why are you going to mess this movie up by putting dialogue in it? What do you need us for?" Hey, I agree with the Hack Man, dude.
Yeah.
The stunts in this movie are incredible, and right away, they're driving peacefully, but pretty much a race breaks out, and it turns into like a 5-car race in the desert. Real cars driving up on hills, narrowly missing boulders, crashing into each other. The stunts in this movie are what makes this movie worth watching, even today.
They're great. Yeah.
Later on in the movie, we'll get to it, but there's an incredible stunt that I jumped out of my seat. I don't know if I should say it now or say it when we come
now.
to
Who cares?
Yeah. Say it.
They crash an airplane through a billboard.
Yeah.
Now, it looks cool. It looks like an impressive stunt, but I think a lot of people might just miss how incredibly dangerous that is. Just imagine if a duck flies into the propellers of an airplane, the whole airplane could go down. Everybody on board could die.
Yeah.
They sweep airport landing strips for coins and locks and little debris because any little thing could down an airplane. They crashed this fucking 2-engine airplane through a billboard.
Yeah.
And when I read
go ahead. No, I was going to read probably what you saw too, that the billboard itself was made of material that was thin, but the frame for it, if they hit that frame at all, the plane would have crashed. So
it would have ripped the wings off of the plane, but that's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
That was a 2-engine plane, and when it crashed through the billboard, they lost one engine completely, and they lost half of the second engine. They went from 2 engines to half of 1 engine.
Oh my
God. They almost crashed that plane in that shot.
Wow.
It was very impressive. Very impressive.
And that's a big stunt that everyone has been talking about with Tenet is they crash a plane into a they did it first here. So once again,
they did it here.
Nolan the hack, if you would have watched a couple older movies, you would save the time.
And the classic debate, which is the more bloated, overrated movie, Tenet or Mad World?
That is the classic debate.
That's been a classic debate for the last couple decades. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so these guys break into a car race, and the police are observing them. And Spencer Tracy, cute old little Spencer Tracy. I know nobody out there watching this knows who Spencer Tracy is. He's the old man from Up, essentially. Wouldn't you say? They basically just based that character off of him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
Spencer Tracy in this movie is essentially the old man from Up. He plays a police detective, and he knows that the man who crashed was a criminal, a thief. I don't know if he was a bank robber, but somehow he got $350,000 worth of money.
Yeah.
And the police were going to follow him to see where the money was. Now they think these motorists are the only surviving people who know where this money is located, so the police are going to watch these motorists as they track the money down. Right?
Yep.
Which to me was amazing. The idea that in 1963 you could scout 4 states. We're talking Nevada, Utah, Arizona, California. They have police monitoring these people everywhere they go. They have basically GPS satellite coverage of these people just by having cops with binoculars all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I thought for some reason I thought it was all California, just different counties. Was I wrong with that? Was it states?
Was it all? I thought they kept looking at a big map and it looked like they left California. And they talked about
the map. I could be wrong here, but I thought the map I thought that first, but then it was all one day. It's how would they do this all one day? But I thought it ended up being counties by looking at it closely, but I could be wrong. So
I might be wrong. I thought at one point they mentioned that they were going to have to go to the 4 corners and turn. And I was thinking, is that where the 4 states meet? So
maybe, probably.
Yeah.
And then Mickey Rooney was heading off to Vegas. I don't know. Point is, even if it's just California, that is a robust surveillance system.
That is a very incredible surveillance system, especially with what they had back in the day. And they always knew exactly where they were and what they were doing, which,
Yeah. So the movie from here gets very confusing. It just gets all mixed up. Let's break down who the teams are in this film. You have Milton Berle, his wife, and his mother-in-law as Team 1. They're a 3-person team.
You know what I did think was funny is how much everyone hated the mother-in-law. That that got a laugh out of me. How like consistently everyone just fucking hated her and was very obvious with it, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, she really was the villain of this movie. It kind of made me sad that in 1963, like a woman just wanted to get her fair share of this money was the villain of this movie. But yeah, so that was team one. And then you have, I believe it is Sid Caesar and his wife, played by Edie Adams. They're a married couple. That's team two. You have Mickey Rooney and Buddy Hackett, couple of friends as team three, and then Jonathan Winters as a truck driver.
Right.
All by himself is the fourth team. And I guess he was considered to be the star of this movie. I don't know if you guys realize that.
Jonathan
really?
Winters was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't really considered that.
This was like his first movie, and I guess he was a big television personality, and I watched a lot of like promotional interviews from the 60s that they did, and it was all about him. He was like front and center, and everybody else was kind of just like supporting him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like Jonathan Winters. He's another person I always thought was funny. He played an unfortunate role in Mork and Mindy when he's always known, if you were a big Mork and Mindy nut, I know a lot of you guys watching.
I definitely was until
I did like that show. But he was the jump the shark moment in that show.
That was the baby.
Yeah, he was the baby, and on Orc the babies are like big or whatever that was.
The worst.
And they added him to the show, and total nightmare. Anyway, but I like him.
Hey, I want to point out, so I did watch like a lot of documentaries and behind the scenes footage from when this movie was released. They were doing promotional interviews, and then I watched kind of retrospective documentaries from the 70s and 80s when these people were older.
Wow.
And every comedian from this generation acts like they invented comedy and that they're like comedy gods and nobody can get it. And it's kind of infuriating to watch that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of these people praise Jonathan Winters as like the most genius comedian to ever walk the face of the earth. And then I don't remember who said it. It may have been like Milton Berle or maybe it was Edie Adams, but she was like, Jonathan's just so crazy. He's like a walking circus. You'll never see somebody like him ever again. There'll never be a comedian as good or as crazy as him ever again. And then she stops and she goes, maybe the only person I could think maybe of this generation is like Robin Williams, maybe. And I just thought like, hey, as a observer from 3 generations down, let me tell you, Robin Williams far surpasses Jonathan Winters on like every comedic level.
But
that was my opinion. They just had such an inflated opinion of themselves.
But I will say, Robin Williams, though, I remember, again, they were both in Mork and Mindy, and Robin Williams was freaking out because that was like his idol. Like, so, I don't know. Everyone looks to something, I guess, but I agree.
Maybe that's where Robin Williams got his crazy personality from.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. But in general, I still agree with you.
Yeah. Idols are great. And in fact, I was surprised by some of the comedians that showed up in this movie that I really liked. But, I mean, we can keep talking about this plot, which kind of just evolves into nonsense now that we have the
That's the thing is, like, we have the teams, but then it gets separated and we join in different ways, and then, like, new characters come in, and it just gets so... I mean, it's purposely confusing and hectic and crazy.
A couple of teams charter airplanes. A couple of teams try to throw in together but get mixed up. Jonathan Winters gets stranded at like a gas station, which turns into a big fight scene where he knocks the whole gas station down. That happens early in the movie. Then he meets a motorist who is played by, I believe, Phil Silvers, who was, I think he was Sergeant Bilko back in whatever show that was.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. I never saw that show, but I knew he played him. That's cool.
Yeah, the King of Chutzpah, Phil Silvers. I actually liked that guy.
Yeah, me too.
You guys remember that character, that motorist?
Yeah.
Again, same as like with Buddy Hackett. I just liked his personality. Not like I thought anything he did was particularly funny.
Yeah, but totally. I know what you mean.
So he gets involved, and he double crosses Jonathan Winters. Now we have an extra motorist involved. And then the trio, they break down, but they get picked up by a British Explorer, so he gets involved, and Milton Berle joins the Explorer, and the mother and daughter form their own team. It just goes fucking crazy, y'all.
Yeah.
For 3 hours, silly madness.
Yeah, they kidnap a boy. Don Knotts is there. Like, I don't know.
Dude, that was the highlight of the movie for me. It was like
Don Knotts?
all these 60s actors, and I was like, I honestly thought in my head, I'm like, damn, they didn't do Don Knotts for this. That seemed like he seemed like part of that era. Boom.
Yeah.
You see that
Supposedly,
look. He's driving up, and you start to see that look. I was like, yes.
The one big comedian from that era, from that day, who wasn't in this movie was Don Rickles.
Yeah.
I guess I read that every time Don Rickles saw this director was a fan of comedy who'd come to Don Rickles shows.
Yeah.
Don Rickles would always put a spotlight on him and harass him, be like, "Oh, every person in comedy was in that movie. Every person working in comedy was 1962 was in that film. Not me, huh? Okay, all right."
Yeah, I heard he like wanted to be in it. Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, I mean, I feel at this point, what I read was that like comedians who weren't contacted to do this movie called the director like, "Yo, you got everyone else. Why am I not in this?" And they would get like hurt and insulted that they weren't in it and they wanted a part.
Oh,
so
man.
Pretty much, you guys, there's unanimous consensus as to what the funniest part of the movie is, at least in terms of what got the biggest laugh.
Okay.
The funniest part of the movie.
Well, let me say before you guess.
Yeah.
That's that's a trick. The way I phrased that. Let me rephrase it. The part of the movie that got the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
Because when I say funniest part of the movie, you're probably thinking, was any part of this movie funny? So the part that got the biggest laugh. Do you have any guess? You're not going to get it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I would have guessed any of the big stunts at the end, you know, where they're going crashing through stuff.
The biggest laugh. Well, two things come to mind.
Okay.
Very different from each other. I feel like, for me, one of the biggest laughs is when the husband and wife are trapped in the hardware store basement. And then the fireworks caught on fire, a little explosion, and it was like all hell broke loose. That made me laugh. I thought that was funny.
You're thinking, Sean, what was the funniest part.
Right.
But I'm saying what got the biggest laugh.
Yeah.
Now, this to me is what would have done it, and this is a shot in the dark. But when I saw that, it meant nothing to me. But I thought, I bet this was huge. And that is when the plane flies over and you see the Three Stooges standing there. To me, it's like, I bet the fact that they were in it and they didn't talk, that to me must have been a moment for people. Not for me, but for people. That was my guess.
All right. Well, let me tell you, the way I know this is because, like I said, they took this show on the road and it toured around. And so they had a lot of like individual examples. And this part always popped way bigger than everything else. Even got standing ovation.
Wow.
Sean, you're right. It's when the Three Stooges show up.
Really?
Whoa.
Yes. These guys are trying to land a plane, and the plane is going to crash. They don't know. There's a huge crowd, and the camera pans over, and it's the Three Stooges as firemen just ready to take care of it if anything goes wrong. It's a cutaway 2-second cameo. Apparently, people would, like, stand out of their chairs and, like, dude, it was like the Avengers announcement. They would just scream, you know? Oh, Stooges!
I cannot believe that I got that right. But I did think like this seemed like they looked old, but I don't remember I don't know when Stooges was. Is that the 30s or 40s? When was it?
They were like in their 60s in this movie. They were
right. So they probably weren't together seen like as the Three Stooges. I'm just putting this together. I have no idea if this is true. But like in a long time. So I am sure when I saw that, I was like, I know it's the Three Stooges. That's crazy that they're in this. I wouldn't have expected that. So
that moment to me, I realized like, yeah, references do not make great jokes.
Right.
Even when you get the reference, like, yeah, the Three Stooges, it means nothing to me. You know, it's
right.
Actually, and let me tell you, after I watched this movie, I was like, for a lark, I Google searched Three Stooges as firemen and found a Three Stooges skit where they were firemen. It was fucking hilarious, guys. I was like rolling in my chair. I loved it so much. The Three Stooges actually doing funny things was so much funnier than another movie going, look, the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Was Curly dead by that point? Because that was not like Curly, right? That was somebody else.
I think that was Curly. I think that was Curly.
I thought he was dead by that, and it didn't look like Shemp either. So I want to know who that third man was.
No, they would not put a mysterious stooge in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to say, didn't one of Curly's relatives fill in for him after? I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. I don't know.
Rocco, you got your Stooges history backed up. Shemp was the original third Stooge. He quit to have a solo career, and his cousin Curly filled in.
Oh.
And nobody ever remembers Shemp. Actually, I'm sure there's Three Stooges fans out there that prefer Shemp over
But Shemp is the Pete Best of the Stooges.
Larry, Moe, and it's just Curly, but he's very fat and old.
Oh, okay. I thought he had passed away by that point. I don't know. But all I know is whenever they do... What's that?
It looks like him.
All I know is that whenever they do like Three Stooges marathons or whatever, they always have to like brace you for a Shemp episode.
Wait a second, Rocco.
This next one's a Shemp one.
Wait a second, Rocco.
Yeah?
I think you're right.
Oh, fuck.
Curly Howard he died in 1952. This movie came out in 1963.
Thank you.
Who the fuck was in this movie?
Exactly. Curly clone. Curly
Wait
2 is like
I gotta
Gallagher
do
2.
some... Hold on. Who played... I gotta
you.
do some active research here, folks.
Don't underestimate my ability to notice who's doing a cameo and who's in the background.
That's
of the shot
true. Even back in the day, Rocco. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
At least it wasn't Shemp. That's all I have to say.
Thank God.
Thank the Lord.
And aren't you glad?
Yeah, I'm really confused. I'm not really finding any information on this. We'll have to do a follow-up here.
Yeah. We'll tack it into the next episode when we figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah, we'll do a special movie club just on the mystery of the third Stooge.
Yeah. So I said this earlier, but it's true. They tried to get Laurel and Hardy to be in this movie.
Yeah, they wanted everyone.
They tried to get Laurel.
Yeah.
They tried to get Laurel, but Hardy was dead. And I think it's Stan Laurel is his name. He swore he would never perform again without his partner. And he held to that. So they actually filmed a scene in this movie with somebody who looks like Laurel, skinny guy with the bowler hat. He was a stand-in because they're like, he's totally going to do it. And when he backed out, they just gave one of the main characters a bowler hat. So I don't remember who it is, but one of the people in this race suddenly has a new hat for no reason. And that's the explanation.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Wow.
That is sad and sweet at the same time that he refused to ever go on without his partner. That's nice.
Yeah. That's going to be you guys with. I was going to say me with you guys, but nah, I'll keep doing stuff. But you guys with me, I think once I die,
well, that's it.
I just get the feeling you guys would just be, all right.
Yeah, I would.
I'm not going to appear publicly anymore. That's just the impression I get.
Totally.
Thank you guys.
So, in the interest of not boring everybody to death, I'm just going to sum up this plot by saying it's a big mess. And it really does spin its wheels. And I'm not trying to insult the movie, but
no, I know what you mean.
The way it's edited is, I get it. You guys, you can't even deny. There's a scene where they run up a staircase. They literally show them running up like 8 flights of steps in one take. Yes. I get it. You're running upstairs. There's a scene where everybody's digging and one guy's watching them, and it's like, digging, 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 watching, more digging, more watching, wide shot of digging, close up of watching. It's like, yeah, you're watching them dig. Fucking move the story forward.
Yeah. I agree.
But what happens? Who wins? Well, they all show up at the park at the same time. They find the big W is a pair of like palm trees that have been crossed to look like a W. By the way, they parodied this on an episode of The Simpsons. Sean, you may remember the cat burglar episode. He said everything was buried under a giant T, and it's a palm tree with another palm tree growing out of it this way.
Holy shit, yeah.
Also, I love this trivia. Every time they build a new In-N-Out, they do palm trees like
An
an X, and they said that was just a goof that the founder did, and he's gone, and they add that to every location as an homage.
That's their logo too, though. Is the palm trees crossed?
Yeah. But that was like his idea because that was his favorite movie. He's like, have the palm
are you
trees
serious?
make whatever. The palm tree concept was his,
Wow,
because he loved that movie.
interesting.
Anyway.
Nice. Yeah. So they find the money. They're all digging it up. Spencer Tracy, the police officer, has tracked them there, and he basically announces, "I'm a cop. I've been tracking you. You're all going to jail." And he convinces them, like, "Why don't you go turn yourselves in? That'll look better for the courts." And they go, "Oh yeah, thank you, so nice." And they go to do that, and he takes the money and he speeds off.
Yeah.
And then they realize, wait a second, he's running to Mexico, and then they start chasing him.
Derek, let me tell you, at this part, I paused because I had to go to the bathroom, and I was shocked to see there was still half an hour left of this movie. I was like, wait, what? This is like the end.
Yeah. When I went to go wrap it up, I was like, okay, I got some other stuff to watch. Let me just wrap this up real quick. And yeah, when I hit that Apple TV remote, it was like 49 minutes left. I was like, I'm sorry, what? I thought we were wrapping this up. Like, what's happening?
Could you imagine the 45 minutes they cut out?
No.
So he runs off, and I just want to note here that there's a cameo by Buster Keaton, who I personally love.
Yeah,
I am the biggest Buster Keaton fan, and I guarantee we're going to watch some Buster Keaton movies on this show someday.
No, I'm good.
I didn't even realize it was him, though, at first. I saw him in the credits, and I was like, oh, where's Buster Keaton? Where's Buster Keaton? And I had to look it up afterwards. He is like this mechanic that helps Spencer Tracy almost get away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's funny because they lingered on that guy, and I bet I didn't know who it was. I thought, like, that guy's somebody, but I don't know who that is.
Which is the case throughout this whole dang movie.
Yeah.
But if you're a big fan of Buster Keaton, like I am, I really enjoyed that. I think that's one of the last film appearances of Buster Keaton ever, because he died shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was reading that he was still like spry in his late 60s. Like he's running around, and he does this thing, Buster Keaton, he's so funny, where he kind of does unnecessary movement. So the car is backing into the garage, and he's pretending like he's pushing it, and his feet kind of like slide backwards because he's pushing so hard. It's just like classic Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that that mechanic was one of the greatest comedy legends of all time.
Yeah.
They flee, and like we mentioned, they go to this building. They run up this giant skyscraper, all 9 stories of it. Oh my gosh. And then they try to like climb down the side of the building. This sounds so dumb, and it is. There's a big crowd out there for no reason. The fire department shows up to try to rescue them off the fire escape, and basically every character gets stuck on top of a giant fire ladder. The end of the movie is just this fire ladder dangling with all the characters like on it, and it starts catapulting them in every direction.
Yeah.
Crashing through windows,
which I love.
What's that?
Oh,
We should also say that the briefcase opens up at this moment and then disperses all the money that the whole movie is about along the whole crowd who has picked it up, and then they don't get any of it.
Rocco, I loved that moment too, but it was honestly because I was fantasizing that all those characters were dying.
Me too, and I was sad to see they weren't dying.
Yeah, legitimately, I was like, I'm so fucking tired of watching this movie. I want to see these characters fucking die right now. So that part was good. But then we see they all survived.
Yeah, and I want to say with that, the police chief guy or whatever, he gets flung. Yeah. Very impressive shot, and I think this was all shot on the Universal lot. Pretty sure, but they flung. It's got to be a stunt guy, but they flung the old police chief guy off the ladder, and all in one shot, you see him go flying through the window of a pet store down into it. I don't know. I was like, that was an impressive shot. But then the weirdest thing happens after that, where they cut to him inside the pet store being licked by a dog. But they just loop the same 1 second of the dog licking him.
Over and over, back
lick,
and forth.
Lick. It
was like an Instagram boomerang.
Yeah, seriously, it was. It was the first boomerang. It really was. Yeah. I'm like, what was that animated GIF of the man being licked? Like, what is that?
That was another example, in my opinion, of like, this movie isn't funny. This is all stuff that was funny in the 40s when it was original, and this director is like, yeah, this is comedy.
It was the last bastion of old comedy, kind of. It felt, yeah.
Yeah.
That absolutely was a stuntman. Spencer Tracy was so close to death filming this movie. They didn't even have him run up the stairs in the scene where they're chasing him. That was a stuntman running up the stairs.
That doesn't surprise me. Should have known.
But the movie ends, guys. I'm gonna actually give it credit. Credit where credit's due. It ends on a really fucking funny joke.
Yeah, go ahead. What could it possibly be?
Yo, they're in the hospital, and the mean woman that they hate comes in and slips on a banana peel, and they all laugh like crazy.
Yeah.
You know just kidding, everybody. That isn't what it ends on, but it wasn't a funny joke. I was like, I wanted to pull my ears off. I was like, you bastards. You punished me for so long, and then you give me this to end on? How dare you?
I'm gonna defend that part. I will defend that part.
Okay.
Because that movie was all about, like you said, I think it works in the context of the movie, because what you said, all this, you know, the origins of this movie are, we want to make the biggest comedy ever made, the craziest comedy ever made, everything on a grand scale, the plane goes through the thing, like, they really did. It was one of the biggest movies ever. I actually did like that, as grand as it all got. I love, and I know it has to be intentional, that they ended on the smallest gag. The smallest, most pathetic gag a human could think of. Someone slips on a banana peel. Like, I actually did like that it ended on that. After all that hullabaloo, that's how it ended. I like that. It didn't make me laugh, but I appreciated the bookendedness of it. So that's my
I hated it. I thought they were going for this barrel of monkeys. They're all like in these casts, and Spencer Tracy makes his comment, "I'll never laugh at anything again," and she slips on a banana peel, and then it's like, you know, and they really go for like the lunatic ending, but you know what they really wanted at the end of this movie? They wanted to have Groucho Marx show up as a doctor. And basically be like, you know, this place is a madhouse, and they couldn't get Groucho, so they went with the banana peel.
Well,
oh my god.
Well, I like the creative choice. I didn't laugh, but I appreciate. I'll give it a point for me.
Yeah, it's. I can't say it. The movie was a smash hit. It was a cultural phenomenon. It generated insane amounts of money. Critics fucking hated it. And you can go back to the 60s, and it's almost like, for me at least, because I related with this, so many people just shit on this movie, is like, this is cool stunts, why do we have 3 hours of, and the critics of the time even say, like, this was funny for like 45 minutes, and then they ran out of ideas, and it's just like, crash the car over here, crash the car over there, they fell down again, and it's like 3 hours of that.
It really is. And, you know, like, again, with all the cameos, like, they got Jimmy Stewart. You know, I was surprised. No Lucille Ball. I thought we would see. Yeah.
She was supposed to be the wife of, she was supposed to play Edie, whatever her name is.
Oh,
the wife
really?
of Sid Caesar, but I think she got into a contract dispute with the movie studio, and they barred her from appearing in this film.
Oh, well, okay, that makes sense. I was like, where is she? She was like a huge comedy star then. Yeah. This makes sense. I see. Well, everyone...
I was just going to say, the director, Stanley Kramer, he made, like, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and he made a couple other, like, socially conscious, like, what they call, like, message movies.
Oh, okay.
You know, kind of SJW work of the 50s and 60s. So this was him kind of telling people, like, I can be funny. Not everything I need needs to be so serious.
Yeah.
And a lot of the critics were like, this is a review from Chicago Tribune, 3.5 hours of tiresome proof that Stanley Kramer should stick to dramas and leave comedies to his competitors.
Ouch.
Damn.
That person reviewed the 3.5 hour version. Could you imagine?
Oh, cool.
A couple more notes that I have that we didn't quite get to, which I thought was interesting, was at the time this was made, there was about 100 stunt performers working in America, and in this movie they used about 80 of them.
Yeah,
so that just shows you like stunts they did in this movie.
It was all hands on deck.
Yeah, totally. I thought that was cool. This film had so many action sequences that the actors were given 2 scripts, one of dialogue, and the other one was just for action.
Damn.
Which is also, I've never heard of that before too. We pretty much covered everything else. The
only thing
Go ahead.
I had a couple things that I was going to add. Well, you mentioned the Cinerama thing. I thought that was cool. I did not know until I looked it up that I didn't know this was the first movie shown at the Cinerama Dome, the famous Cinerama Theater. It's still there in LA. That's like the widest screen and whatever. I didn't know that was the first movie. It was the first movie shown there. They had the premiere there. And you mentioned, Derek, they went so far with making it an event that they recorded fake police broadcasts about what's going on with the characters that they played even during intermission, like when you're in the bathroom and stuff. I love that kind of shit. You know, I love when someone puts control over the whole presentation. You know, even when we did, not to compare, I guess, but even when we did theater screenings like a decade ago of our episodes and stuff, I remember then I remember working with the theater to try to get them to play music from the Mega64 episodes, like between the whatever. You know, it was like, I love that kind of stuff. So I really like that. And I knew about the Cinerama format and all that because of 2001, because I think Stanley Kubrick like saw this shit and went like, oh yeah, my space movie, I'm shooting it with that. Yeah, I'm doing that. So that's another Cinerama classic. Yeah. So anyway, that's all.
Yeah. I also have here that Edie Adams said she did not find out until after they shot the shot that they were using real dynamite to blow up that wall in the store cellar.
Oh.
So
I read that too, but then I was like, was that real dynamite? Did we even see the explosion?
Maybe she's an idiot.
I mean, she was hiding behind the thing, I guess. I mean, we saw the explosion of the wall. It was a brick wall they blew up.
I agree with Rocco. I think maybe she's just old and senile at this point.
You never know
what's going on.
Possible. It's possible. That's possible. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching that movie. I finally got around to it. You know, I don't know what to tell my father-in-law. I guess I'll tell him I like the stunts a lot, which is true.
I think I think your mindset going into a movie really affects the enjoyment level. And I think if somebody would have told me kind of real talk, like the movie's not very funny, but incredible stunts and it was kind of like a cultural landmark, I would have been more receptive to it. But I feel like I got, I was along for the ride and then the enjoyment was slowly sucked out of me.
Yeah.
But interesting to see all of these old actors who you'd always heard their names.
Yeah.
Mickey Rooney, Milton Berle, Ethel Merman, Buddy Hackett. To actually see them, in their element, I do get an enjoyment out of that. Oh, and I will say, we talk about there's, for me, a level of enjoyment when I watch an old movie knowing everybody in this movie is long dead. This movie has 2 surviving cast members and they were both uncredited. Every member of the main cast is dead. Mickey Rooney was the last person to die from the main cast in 2014. And Paul Reiner had a bit part as the air traffic control man. He died recently. And so I think the little boy who showed him across the river is still alive, and one other actor.
Wow.
So
crazy.
He still lived by the river or what?
Oh, and I know you guys don't play Grand Theft Auto 5, but that hill that they're always driving up and down to get to that park in the end of the movie, that is prominently featured in San Andreas in Grand Theft Auto. I'm always crashing my cars there in Grand Theft Auto 5. So when I saw that in the movie, I was like, yo, that's the spot from Grand Theft Auto. So there is that connection to video games.
Cool. Fine.
Nice.
Yeah, that made me like it.
Would you guys want to do your shakers and see what we ended up with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say I still as much as I agree with what you guys are saying, I love the real big movies from the 60s. I love that era of movies, and as much as I didn't love the final recipe all cooked together, I love every ingredient. I really do. So I'm gonna give it 3. I am gonna give it 3 popcorn shakes.
What do you got, Derek?
I really don't find this movie funny. I think it's a really entertaining action movie.
Yeah.
And the attempts at comedy kind of ruin it. And I think that there are funny people in this movie, but this is not them being funny. You have to find everything these people did before this movie to really appreciate their comedy. I want to give this movie 1.5 stars, but I hesitate to do half stars, so I'm going to give it 2.
Okay.
2 stars.
Okay. And for me, I think the stunts alone were like mind blowing.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a movie that you could salvage out of this and make it an hour and a half, and it would have been awesome. Not funny though. I'm not saying it'd be funny, but it would be an entertaining movie to watch. A fun movie.
It's fun to watch.
It was just so long. God damn. I felt like it was my whole day, you know. But I will say that I'm truly glad that we did watch it.
Yeah.
I think it's a historical movie, so I'm glad that I saw it, and I will give it 3 stars as well.
Cool.
All right, so that is a whopping 8 out of 15 stars for Mad, 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 Mad World.
Okay.
I'm curious if if everyone watching this will be like, what the fuck, you guys? Or if it'll be like, nah. You know, if everyone will, I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, that's a classic. I'm like, I hope we didn't dump on it too much, but maybe people will see.
Did we? Why didn't we dump on it? I mean,
I think we were
Did
fair.
you, firm but fair. Did we ever get...
Seriously, I think Milton Berle should go away.
I think he did.
He did. Don't worry. I got
okay, good.
Hey,
Well,
Derek, if you want to see Milton Berle get totally owned, you got to watch him at the MTV Movie Awards with RuPaul. Have you ever seen that?
Oh my God. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking awkward.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah. Watch that.
I found out that Milton Berle hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live that was so cringy they banned it from ever being reshown. And everybody who worked on it said it was like somebody said being in the writer's room with Milton Berle was like being in a slow motion cringe car accident on repeat. They said that in 1979.
Wow.
Damn. Yeah, I gotta see that. Yeah, a lot of these comedians, like you said, kind of earlier, that get touted as like the biggest inspiration in comedy in one generation. So often they go into the next generation and they carry that attitude with them instead of adapting or instead of whatever. Because I feel like that happened with Chevy Chase, like around that SNL time, funniest guy in the world. And then he kind of carried that with him, and then he's on Community, and he's acting that way, and it's like, dude, you're just kind of an asshole. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, Milton Berle. I went hard on the Milton Berle history, and I guess he was like America's first television superstar in the 50s. He got like a really popular comedy show, and he was he called himself Uncle Milty.
Cool.
And also went by the nickname Mr. Television. And just considered himself the biggest, superstar of all time, the first. and so he kind of saw everybody else as like, the people coming up after him. I don't know. He just has this attitude. And it's like, bro, you're not that funny. I went back and watched the Milton Berle show. It sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. So that's it for Milton Berle.
That's it.
I was gonna have my old Milty.
Do we ever fill that hole out? Do people ever tell us that they watch the movies with us, or are they just kind of going?
Oh no!
Do we know?
A lot of people commented. I was surprised. A lot of people said there were a lot of people that told me they watched this first, and then if it sounded cool, they'd go buy it. A lot of people told me that.
Wow.
But
wow, a lot of Magic Mike fans out there. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, but
now
yeah, people would tell me they like to watch it ahead of time.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Cool. Well,
let us know if you agree, if you think we're full of crap. I would love to hear it.
Yeah. I won't be mad. Derek, I think you have the next pick.
Yes. So everybody, let's go back in time to a simpler time at the beginning of this summer when we started Movie Club. And let's remember what we all started out here to do. And that was to watch shitty movies like Cat in the Hat and Meet the Zohan. I am bringing that tradition back swinging, baby.
Meet
We are
the
going to
Zohan.
watch the Dane Cook classic. I'm sorry, what? You don't mess with the Zohan?
Yeah,
You said meat,
yeah.
but I know what you said, Derek. I know it. I infected
That's okay.
you.
Meet
It's my
the
fault.
Zohan. They should call it Meet the Zohan.
They should. They really should.
I hope that keeps happening forever.
It will.
Anyway, sorry, you're saying.
You don't mess with the parents. We're going to be watching the Dane Cook classic film, Good Luck, Chuck.
Wow.
Which happens to be the last film Dane Cook ever starred in.
Huh.
We're going to try to figure out what went wrong, because it's a great film, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure.
Oh.
All right. Well, I can't wait for next week. I'm sure you guys. You know, I'm just gonna take a guess here with the next movie. Go buy it in the highest quality, most expensive version.
Yeah.
And then watch the movie.
Try to track down a
And you know
35
what?
Try to track down a 35 millimeter
about
print.
watching a movie, going in and you know it sucks. At least you know what you're getting into.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week with Good Luck, Chuck.
All right.
Thank you for watching.
Take care, everybody. Oh, I just slipped.
On what?
A banana. Ha 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 ha.
On cum.
I was just gonna let me say.
Guys, this is such a wholesome episode.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You can't curse in the last 30 seconds either. So wait, we're not
Is that
even
what
monetizing these.
Oh, then yes,
All right,
everyone.
it doesn't matter. Anyway, that was a monetization bit. That's what we'll end on. Thanks, guys. This was the biggest comedy ever made. Good night.